Welcome back, guys. This is going to be the second part of our video tutorial series that we are working on creating a CRUD application with KnockoutJS application using the ASP.NET Web API. So I have a Visual Studio 2015 open, and I'm going to create ASP.NET Web application, and I'm going to choose the Web API as a template type. And ask Visual Studio to create the template for me. So basic, it create a basic structure. Of course, I will not be using that because we will have all, but basic template is good to start with. So I don't have to create everything from scratch, right? All right, so it's a basic structure is created. This is default created by the Visual Studio 2015. And here, these are the default. I'm not going to use this controller, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one also. And then I'm not going to use a lot of feature from here. I don't need this view. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one too. And let's see, I can build this. Okay. Okay, builds become successful right here. So we need it by default. It has a jQuery in it, but it doesn't have a KnockoutJS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install the KnockoutJS using the NuGet package manager. Let's browse it here and then install Knockout. Okay, install the KnockoutJS into our project because this is the whole tutorials about, CRUD app with the KnockoutJS. Okay, that it has been now installed. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one. Okay, so as you can see in the script right here, we have a Knockout and we have jQuery. As I said in my past video tutorial, we'll be using those two libraries. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add a new folder here. Okay, so I'm going to call this folder app. We'll be using all our code would be residing right here. So I'm going to create a new folder inside the app folder called HTML. All of those goes inside there, or our HTML code goes in there, and the JavaScript will go there. And just in case, just go ahead and add a new folder here for CSS. Okay, so we are good in terms of course, we have a lot of housekeeping work to do in terms of server side. Remember, like we have to expose the web API. We need to create our model and views, and basically based on those, we will be creating a databases. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of server side first. Once we are ready, we have tested, server side where our web API is ready to consume the data. Then we can start working on client side exclusively. Okay, so in a couple of videos, we'll be exclusively working on the server side. Okay, guys? Okay, so let's go ahead and add some. These are existing model created by Visual Studio by default, and here I'm gonna create some classes here for our let's create even before that, I don't need a lot of these code. I don't need I'm gonna get rid of this. Delete that one. I don't really care about this. Go ahead and delete those. Delete that one also. I don't really care about provider, whatever it is. Go ahead and get rid of this one. I don't really care about areas. The result, not really. Go ahead and get rid of it. Okay, a lot of things from here I need it. I'm going to keep this one here as it is. And then, okay. So I might have, if I do this, I think that it might complain. A lot of build failure. Okay, because they don't know what the model is, which is okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this one because I deleted application user from the model also. So I'm gonna comment this whole thing. It doesn't like it. Oops. Okay, it doesn't know, it doesn't have those. That's fine. I don't really need this one either. I'm going to comment this guy. Oops, what? Why this complaint? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, don't do anything here. Okay. Alright, build succeeded. I basically got rid of everything, so we'll be starting from the scratch. You know what I mean? So so we're gonna add in model folder. We're gonna go ahead and add some classes here. Very first thing we need a class, C# class to represent the degree. So we're going to call this class degree, okay? And this degree will have some properties. Let's define, we'll have this is going to be the ID, the primary key of the table called degree. And then let's go ahead and define another property. The data type is going to be a string. I'm going to call this guy as a name property. The name of the degree, which represent degrees like associate or bachelor's or whatever. And maybe perhaps optional properties here. Call description. It's optional, so okay, we have our degree class defined. Let's go ahead and add another model. And I'm going to name this as a area of study. Okay, this is our class, area of study. Area of study. And so the degree and area of study has one-to-many relationship. So what I'm going to do here is into degree, I'm going to say list of area of study. Areas of studies, okay? And here, area of study, just give another property here. Say a degree. Okay. So far so good. We have two objects, two classes here to represent our model. We got degree and area of study. I'm going to create one more class here. And I'm going to call this class area of specialization. And instead of avoiding typo, I'm going to say rename and just copy this one and plug it here. Okay, this is going to be area of specialization. Of course, it's not going to have a degree, but it will have area of study. Okay, this property here. Into the area of study, there will be many specialization in the area of study. So I'm going to say area of specialization, areas of, okay. Alright, our model is now defined. Okay, based on this model, we're going to create our database, our structure here. Okay. So now, next thing I'm going to do, because we need to create a, since we are using Entity Framework, and we'll be creating our model first, and based on the model, we'll be creating database, running some command into Visual Studio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new folder here. Let's say a DB for the database, and into it, I'm going to add a new class. Let's add a class called degree DB context. As you know, if you guys have been coding for Entity Framework for now, of course this object has to be inheriting from DB context, right? And DB context, oops. The class, of course, resides in a namespace called data.entity. Let's go ahead and do the name resolution. And then let's define a constructor here. Instead of doing this, I'm going to say, all right, here is this guy will be using the base constructor. The base constructor takes connection string as a parameter. Okay, let's define a connection string for this. I'm going to say KnockoutJS CRUD app connection string. A little verbose, but it's okay. All right, and then now we have our model, so we're gonna DB set is a degree. Okay, let's do the same thing for our area of study and area of specialization. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this 3 times. All right, so instead of this is going to be areas of studies, and this is going to be areas of specializations. All right, and we have to do name resolution is for the degree. It resides inside what is the okay. Okay, model using that namespace, we're going to do name resolution, and this one not going to be, it's going to be area of study, and this prop data type of this one would be area of specialization. Okay, now our DB context is now defined. I think we are basically now ready to run the command to create our well, even before before we can do that, remember we'll be by default is using the DB data that comes with by default, but we would like to create the database, the table, and all those structure into my local SQL server. So to do that, I will have to change my web config here. This is the default connection string here. So instead of this default connection string, I'm going to get rid of that default one, and then I have this little piece of code for the connection string. That's what I'm going to plug in here, and then let's create the initial catalog basically refer to the database. So I'm going to say KnockoutJS CRUD app database. Okay, this is the name of the database that it will be creating in the SQL. This is my local SQL Express, and this key, of course, has to be whatever we put into our degree DB context right here. I put this name here as a connection string name, so I'm gonna change that. Okay, so if everything is good, we should be able to run the command here. All right, everything is okay. Now I'm going to go into tools and go into package manager console, and gonna say, all right, go ahead and enable migration. Enable migrations. Run this command. Behind the scene, it does all kind of crazy stuff to make sure the connection string is good, everything is okay. Okay, so as you can see, it created this configuration file here. Add a new folder called migration. Inside it, the configuration is checking if the context target an existing database. Since it is not, it should be okay. It added this configuration, right? So next thing we're going to say add migration. We're going to run the second command. So we need to say add migration for a degree, that object. Okay, behind the scene, as you can see, my my machine is kind of like okay. See, as you can see, it created all the degrees dependency. Not only it created degree, as you can see right here. It created a table called area of studies and all the foreign keys relationship that we have specified and everything. Very last command that I'm going to run is going to be update database, and I'm going to run the verbose command so that I can see all the things. In the meantime, next thing I'm going to do here, run this new. I have my SQL Server instances also ready to go. I'm going to run the query profiler. In the tools, I'm going to run SQL Server profiler so that we can see all the statement, generated, and it's kind of fun to see what this entity framework does when we run. Okay. Then now I'm going to go into Visual Studio and run that command. That is the final command. It actually writes those information, creating table, all the constraint, all the indexes and everything is now done. And those information, now it basically create our database schema for us, okay? All right, looks like it succeeded. And then I'm gonna refresh my database here. And it should have created a new database for us. Here is a KnockoutJS CRUD app database. That is the name that I specified into the connection string. Let's look at some of the table it created. So here is degree tables, and a degree, an area of studies with the foreign key that we need, and area of specialization. Okay, with all the foreign key, all the indexes, everything is good. Everything is now created. So next thing, so far now we have our database to work with. Our model is good. So next thing I'm going to do, let's start creating our web API. Okay, that's the next thing we're going to do. We are still in the server side. We have not gone to the client side yet. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to come in here and add a new folder. I'm going to say Web API, and I'm going to add a class here. I'm going to say common base controller. And of course, as you know, this will be inherited from API. Controller. I think there has to be the class, the uppercase, right? It would be inheriting from this guy here. And of course, now we have to do the name resolution here. So it is inside the web.http namespace. Okay, we got that base, and I'm going to make this guy as an abstract class because people, so that people wouldn't be creating instance of this guy. Only thing I need, I will have here a protected property called degree db context. Let's do a name resolution for this guy. It is inside, yeah, that's fine. It's using that, and let's give it a name as a db. Let's go ahead and create a new instance here. We are not using any kind of design pattern, anything, just, you know, so that the reason I created this base class, so I will be creating 3 different the web API controller, so that all of them would be able to, I don't have to have into all those controller with this property, so basically they can inherit it. Okay, very simple structure. So I'm going to go ahead and add new controller here. I'm going to say a degree controller, and as you guess now, it will be inheriting from this common base controller. Let's go ahead and add 2 more. Of course, you know, this is, I want to, whenever I design, I try to make it very easier. Of course, you can put all those information into one class, but it's totally up to you. But this is a very, I would like to write a little bit of code, and this class will be doing their one thing, kind of like to follow the single responsibility principle. Okay, so I'm going to create a new class called area of study controller. Area of study controller, and of course this guy also would be inheriting from common base. And finally, I'm going to create one more. Area of specialization controller. Okay, very good. So far, so good. So we have our area, all our controllers. We have to basically create a template now. Always a good pattern when you're writing code in ASP.NET MVC. Don't directly expose the model into the view. Always, you know, expose the view model, because, you know, in the view model basically contain a lot of other information, but that might not be relevant to the views, to your HTML. So even one more thing I would do, when I would like to create a folder here, and I'm going to say a view model. Okay, into the view model, I'm gonna basically, I will have similar kind of like I'm gonna add a class called degree view model. Okay, all right, let's add and the last area of specialization. Okay, so we have these classes, of course, you know, so even though I changed the name in the file but didn't change into the class name, it still says that. Let's take care of that, and the same thing for ideally it's a similar kind of thing, but it's a degree view model, I will have an ID and description and not this property here. I don't really care about this. However, because when I create area of study, I'm gonna define a property here called integer. Let's say a degree ID. That would be kind of useful information. And then finally, let's go ahead and instead of degree ID here, I will have area of study ID. Okay. Now, you know, we slowly we are chipping in. I mean, like slowly we are, you know, taking care of all the this kind of like things that we have to do, you know. So because we are not writing code in a real life application, of course, you know, there might be some people who work exclusively in the servers in a database or maybe in the middle tier. But here I'm trying to show you everything from the middle tier to database to frontier. That's why I have to go through each of them. Okay. All right. So this going to be this is the last thing we will be doing in today's video tutorial. In the next video tutorial, what I will do is we'll be writing the code, and we'll be testing our web API and everything. And finally, we start moving into the client side. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching the videos. I'll be recording the next video pretty soon. Thank you so much.